This is what I have been excited for a very long time. We are having a three-round mock draft today, and yes, as you can see, I'm not in my usual setup. I am not home. I'm not nowhere near the PC, so this is a completely me figuring it out situation for you guys because we didn't spend all this time talking, chatting in the comments, figuring everything out throughout the season, throughout the year for us not to have a massive mock draft right before the draft. By the time you see this, it is more than likely going to be a good amount of time before the draft, but enough so that you can watch it right before and see if I get it right. If I get the first round right, which I feel like I'm pretty comfortable with, I think it's going to be good. I am going to have very limited trades, nothing crazy, no outlandish jump in terms of just like jumps all over the place, like certain teams just going insane and just trading back and forth and whatever. There's a few, some in the first, just a little bit of a spoiler with that, and it's a progressive type of draft that we have going here that I have in mind. But to start off with the first pick of the draft, it is the Tennessee Titans, and I think it is going to stay that way because, in all fairness, in all reality, this has been the pick for a good minute, and we've been back and forth on if it's Abdul Carter or Cam Ward. Do they need to replace Will Levis immediately? Do they give Will Levis the year you get Abdul Carter, who is a standout edge rusher? Or do you get your guy in Cam Ward that you think is your guy that you've invested a lot of time in and a lot of meetings, workouts, and things of that nature? In reality, to me, Cam Ward's going to Tennessee. Cam Ward's going number one. I can't see it any other way because the fall off from Cam Ward to the next QB is pretty significant in terms of having the confidence in that QB coming in and being able to do what he needs to do. But uh, he is the only QB that makes sense in even the top 10 for me, in my opinion. But the way that he played at UM, yes, he had some moments that I was catching myself watching his games and I would just be like, he needs to do that a little bit better. He obviously is able to get those big time throws that you want out of a quarterback that you don't get out of Tua Tagovailoa, but you're gonna get out of Cam Ward. Now, his whole nonchalant, like I'm too good for this type of thing is what kind of throws me off about it. But I think he's gonna be able to figure it out once he makes that next step to the NFL and trains as much as possible. But with the next pick of the draft, we have the Cleveland Browns, who can go many different routes. And I've seen people like Mel Kiper or Field Yates or other people, I'm not sure specifically who said that Shador Sanders could possibly be going to the Cleveland Browns. As much as that sounds great, as much as that sounds like a ideal situation, it's just not smart in terms of the situation for both sides. Shador Sanders is coming in. He needs to be able to have the time to develop. The Cleveland Browns don't have time for him to develop. They need to get somebody that's going to make an impact immediately. And I can't see any other person but Travis Hunter being the guy here because it's just he can do it on both sides. He had 11 interceptions and 14 touchdowns. 14 touchdowns as a wide receiver, 11 interceptions as a cornerback, of course. But it makes him the draft's most versatile weapon. And you can't go against that whenever your GM himself is already saying Shohei Otani, he's the Shohei Otani of football. Then why not draft him? Why waste time trying to think of anything else? If you're that confident in Travis Hunter, which I am, to be honest with you, I think he can keep on growing. I think he can be the best at both sides if he really wanted to be, if they allowed him to be. I think Travis Hunter has a great time in Cleveland and they figure out the QB situation, whether it's Kirk Cousins possibly, who could be on the move in terms of being released and they pick him up. But I like Travis Hunter going to the Browns. Now, moving on to the Giants, is it really something to think about in all reality? Abdul Carter is going to the Giants if Abdul Carter's on the board at number three. As much as it's great, like, oh, Shador Sanders would fill in and he would be able to come behind Russell Wilson and be able to learn. This is BPA. You can't go any other way when Abdul Carter's on the board. He's played through injuries. He has that tenacity. He has that will to get to the ball. He is willing to do anything to chase down a ball carrier and any QB that's trying to get out the pocket. He has every ability to make a move to get inside, and teams are gonna game plan against him every game. Now, I feel as though this could possibly mean Kayvon Thibodeau would be on the move in the same draft. I'm not saying I'm going to be making that type of trade, but I think if they get Abdul Carter, they either switch one of them, which would probably be Kayvon, and he probably wouldn't like that, or you just get rid of Kayvon in entirety being on his fifth year option. I think any situation is fine. I just like Abdul Carter going to the Giants for the near future. But moving on to the New England Patriots, we have a pick that, I mean, you probably wouldn't expect if you've been watching my mock drafts. This is a pick that I've been going hard against for a while for my own mock draft specifically, just because I've been very keen on them focusing on offensive line. But I think if they're willing to take the risk, you go to Tario McMillan because you get your guy for Drake May. Drake May is finally able to develop with someone that is basically in the same path as he is coming through the young years. He doesn't have to rely on Stefon Diggs, who's on his later years of his career. And he has his guy in Tatario McMillan who's going to develop with him, who's going to become probably one of the better wide receivers in the league, especially with a quarterback like Drake May, who is going to be willing to get the ball to him. And it could be Ashton Genty even, but at the same time, I just can't see that happening with Tatario McMillan having probably more of an impact with Drake May on the team. And I would like that a little bit more. And then they could possibly get a Gray Zabel later on in the draft to figure out that offensive line situation. But I would rather them go and use this pick for what it's worth and not go with something that could possibly be the 10th pick. Maybe they could trade out of it, get Will Campbell a little later on. Will Campbell's been basically skyrocketing up mock drafts, but I think that they go the route of going skill position and go to Tario McMillan. Now, moving on to the Jacksonville Jaguars, we have a team that has been getting a lot of rumors lately, and I am not blind to it, but they've been getting a lot of rumors of getting Ashton Genty. Getting Ashton Genty on the team where they already have Travis Etienne, they already have Tank Bigsby. Both running backs are talented. As much as Travis Etienne has been on a downfall lately, Tank Bigsby is not a bad running back at all. And honestly, if you give him the volume, he's going to get in space and he's going to break open. Now, he's a volume runner, while Ashton Genty at times could have been and at times was, but he is very efficient as well. Just not going Ashton Genty. I'm sorry. This is the pick that they need to go with, and it's the only pick that can be done for the Jacksonville Jaguars is Mason Graham. He is, and everybody's been trying to throw him under the radar and throw him like under the bus, I guess you can say, and say that he is not a blue chip prospect. If anybody that watched college football and watched Michigan play, Mason Graham was the guy that you were watching the entire time. There was nobody else that you were watching because he was just getting double team, triple team. If he wasn't getting double team, he was getting straight through and getting to the quarterback immediately or getting within the run game immediately. The Jacksonville Jaguars need somebody that's going to be able to do that alongside Trayvon Walker and alongside Josh Hines Allen. You can't go any other route but Mason Graham. It's the only thing that makes sense in the slightest. And he's more talented than what people give him credit for. But moving on to the Las Vegas Raiders, talent, talent, talent. That is the only thing that Vegas needs right now, and they need to focus on that completely. Every great Corral offense or every great Corral team in general has had a great running back behind it. And now you know where I'm going with this. Ashton Genty going to the Raiders is a match made in heaven just because the way that he would be able to help Brock Bowers not have to basically get double teamed all the time. But it takes a little bit off of Geno Smith, obviously. It takes off of Brock Bowers in terms of him being really the only talent as a receiving weapon. And you bring somebody in who really reminds me of almost a Marshawn Lynch. I mean, I wouldn't say completely. I think he's a mix of Kenneth Walker and Marshawn Lynch, and those are the two running backs that Car- Pete Carroll has had in his time. And I think that would be perfect for this Raiders offense. I think that him going to this team would have him be almost like a young Josh Jacobs on the Raiders with how much of a demon he was for that team. And the contract here, Josh Jacobs as well, because that one was just insane. I think Ashton Dempsey has a long and great career ahead of him. He has a lot of talent, he has a lot of ability, and I like the way that he is as a person as well. But the New York Jets are now on the board, and I've been seeing a lot of people go with Armand Membu. And to be honest with you, I'm not going with that. I know that I did in the past mock draft. I'm just not going with it, to be honest with you, because the thing with going Armand Membu is yes, you fill out your offensive line, but you have so many picks here that could be great for Justin Fields, who's going to be coming into this offense now and needs talent. He has Garrett Wilson, but it needs a little more. It needs a little more, and it needs somebody that's going to be able to do a little bit of everything for this team. And I think that is going to be Tyler Warren out of Penn State. Tyler Warren has been this type of guy that you can rely on in jump ball situations, but he is a wrecking ball in the run blocking schemes. And to be honest with you, I just had thought that this whole Armand Membu situation for the New York Jets has been more of a smokescreen to get people to think that they're not going Tyler Warren. I can't see Tyler Warren wearing any other uniform but a Jets uniform. But moving on to the Carolina Panthers, we have our first trade of the day. And to be honest with you, I haven't situated out exactly what it is, but just know that the Pittsburgh Steelers would be making a move up to the eighth spot, which, okay, so we have to think about what they would give up. I don't think they would want to give up any picks from this draft because they already have so limited. I think they would do the next two second round picks, and they would be comfortable with that. And I think with it being the A spot, now don't shoot me. Don't go into the comment section. Well, I mean, you can if you want, but don't go into the comment section saying, oh, that's not a real package. I understand that. I just think that no matter what, I think the Steelers are going to try to make a trade. And even if it involves a player, maybe a George Pickens who just unfollowed the Steelers, they could be having him on the trading block for a possible move up pick. Um, I could see it happening. I could definitely see it happening. But as of right now, I'm going to put the next two second round picks, the 21st pick, to move up to the eighth spot. And I think this would do the trick for almost everybody. I mean, this isn't like a super good draft in terms of top heavy. It's more depth that this one's good at. So we'll force the trade. Obviously, not a for sure. Maybe they do give up the picks from this one. I don't know. But immediately they send the card in. Shador Sanders is coming to Pittsburgh. I can't see a better situation for either side because it's a situation that Shador Sanders needs since he's been so used to playing under his dad, Deion Sanders. And Mike Tomlin has been able to be a great mentor for several players and be able to help different players grow. And going to Pittsburgh and being able to develop with so many weapons that if they keep George Pickens within this trade, he has DK Metcalf, George Pickens, as of right now, Jalen Warren, who is a talent, a decent offensive line, maybe great if you want to be nice about it, and an insane, insane defense. This is the perfect time to get somebody that you think could possibly have a very high ceiling and could start off great and could start being a difference maker immediately. I think it's the best case scenario for Mike Tomlin in this future. Obviously, he has been having winning seasons constantly. He needs to keep having those and he needs to actually do something with them now. And now he actually has a quarterback instead of relying on Mason Rudolph. I just don't see them going with Mason Rudolph. Maybe Jackson Dart later in the draft. I just think Mike Tomlin likes Shador and his situation a little bit more because he knows that he can mold him into an even better player and an even better man, although obviously Dion was doing so at Colorado Boulder. But moving on to the New Orleans Saints, I mean, they love this situation. To be honest, they may be a little bit upset that the Steelers jumped them. That's for sure. I think they are a little tight that Shador's not on the board. That is definitely a situation that I could see. I could see him going to the Saints. Maybe the situation wouldn't be great just because you have a new young head coach, Kellen Moore. The offenses, I mean, it is what it is. You have Alvin Kamara, Chris Olave, who's probably getting traded at some point. As a QB coming into it, you want to go there just because it's New Orleans and it's the Saints. But other than that, nothing crazy. But to be honest with you, I see a lot of a need. I had a brain fart, but a need and a hole for someone like Will Campbell to come in for the Saints. If their QB is not on the board, I think Will Campbell is the man to go to the Saints because they need to be able to protect whoever it is that's going to be in the backfield. If Derek Carr's out for the season and Spencer Rattler is the guy, you need Spencer Rattler to have a full chance. And if he doesn't do well and you guys basically tank completely, you could have a top three pick. Arch Manning could be coming to the Saints, follow in his grandfather's footsteps, and take the Saints to another Super Bowl. Who knows? Who knows what could happen, but who knows if he's even going to declare next year? No one knows. But I think Will Campbell's the best case scenario for this team, whether he's going to play tackle, whether he's going to play guard, or even center. He just has an eye for defenses and what they're calling out. I think that he would be a great addition, especially with Ryan Ramczyk on his way out. As the Chicago Bears are on the board at the 10th spot. And I'm going to go with something that they have a lot of raw talent coming off the board. You see all the raw talent coming off the board on the offensive side. And in reality, that's the side that you are looking at, specifically Ashton Genty. Obviously, they've been rumored to trade up for Ashton Genty as well. There's a lot of rumors and there's a lot of trade rumors, which is what you get excited for this. But the Chicago Bears have seen all this come off the board, and now they see a perfect opportunity to basically finish this Ben Johnson offseason with what they've been doing all offseason, which is getting better on the offensive line. Armand Membu coming in solidifies that offensive line completely for Caleb Williams in his future and gives him time, gives him space to breathe, gives him space to be able to think properly, not just run and just get all flustered immediately. Gives Caleb Williams exactly what he needs. Ben Johnson can call the right plays, set him up to be a better quarterback than he was last season, and move forward. But there's not really much to say about Armand Membu. We know that he is the most technically sound offensive lineman in this class and has a lot of versatility that I think they could use on that offensive line. As the San Francisco 49ers can really go with anything on the defensive side. They lost a lot of pieces with Dre Greenlaw, with Charvarius Ward, with their safety that I'm not even going to try to say his name right now because I'm on role in terms of what I'm saying, but I think they could go with someone that can really play everything. He can play everything. He can play outside corner, inside corner, safety. Put him wherever you need him to go. He's going to excel at it. And we know who I'm talking about at this point. The man that I would want to go to the Dolphins, but I don't think he's going to make it past the 49ers. Jahdae Barron. What is there not to say about Jahdae? He is more talented than I really ever expected him to be. I saw that he was performing very well at different positions, but his physicals, his film, showing up in big moments, I love Jahdae Barron, and especially going to the 49ers where they need somebody to be able to go to that corner position, which is looking pretty slim at this point. But the Dallas Cowboys see that Ashton Dempsey isn't on the board. I don't think they would even go with him regardless. See that Tatario McMillan is off the board, one at the fourth spot. I think they still go with wide receiver, and they go with someone that has been compared to CeeDee Lamb at points. But to be honest with you, he has been someone that can be reliable when either the wide receiver one is down or when they need him to show up. And CD has been getting almost too much attention. They don't have a wide receiver two that's able to take that attention away from him a little bit, have that Jamar Chase and T. Higgins type of dynamic that Jamar Chase can only get so much attention whenever T. Higgins is on the other side or running a different route. Matthew Golden out of Texas really stepped up to the plate this past year for Texas, and we saw some glimpses of it in past seasons, but he really stepped up. And I think going to the Cowboys, playing behind CeeDee Lamb is going to help him get a significant amount of development and be able to help Dak not struggle in this Dallas Cowboys offense. But moving on to the Miami Dolphins, a team that definitely needs offensive tackle. Definitely needs offensive tackle. I don't see them going with it. And here's why. They have been drafting for offensive line and offensive tackle for some time now. And you even have Teron Armstead giving his praise to the successor of his behind him. Maybe they give him a shot. They just drafted the man this past season, or either this past season or the year before. I think they go with a position that is definitely something that they're going to be needing once Jalen Ramsey's out. Will Johnson is a man that they're going to take a chance on. He has a good floor, though. He has a very good floor. You know that he's going to come in and play and be able to be at least effective, but he could be a superstar. He could definitely be a superstar. He's been compared to people like Pat Surtain II. He's been compared to people that have had great careers, Hall of Fame careers, and he could have that in Miami if he's able to prove everybody wrong in terms of his get back speed that people were questioning for some time, his availability. But Jalen Ramsey being on his way out basically leaves that cornerback room gutted. But the Indianapolis Colts are now on the board, and this is a different pick than I really went with at all for the Indianapolis Colts. But I like the pick just because they need some help in the box. And Jahad Campbell has been a man that's been getting a little bit more praise and a little bit more attention lately. I like Jahad Campbell probably even more than Jalen Walker because Jahad Campbell is able to come into Indianapolis. He offers a quality and versatility right alongside Zaire Franklin. He had 67 defensive stops in 2024, and he ranked third amongst linebackers in the 2025 class, adding 20 pressures and two batted passes as a pass rusher. I mean, you you can't go wrong with adding Jahad Campbell to this defense that needs help in different areas, but adding that type of player, type of versatile weapon is only going to help the Colts in the long run. As the Atlanta Falcons at the 15th spot, I've been high on this man, and I know that people were trying to shoot his draft stock down because of character issues, but I'm sticking with him. I'm sticking with him. I'm gonna go with Mike Green out of Marshall. I just love the way that he played at the Senior Bowl. I loved what I was hearing about him at the Senior Bowl with his just tenacity. He had a win rate over 20% and a run stop rate of over 9%. I really like Mike Green and his fit in Atlanta. He can bring elite production that they have been kind of slacking with lately. And another team that could use an edge is definitely the Arizona Cardinals. And to be honest with you, I'm gonna have to go with the man that's also a chance, but not a, but a more significant chance is what I meant to say. James Pierce Jr. I might get shot down for this one. James Pierce Jr. Getting added to the Arizona Cardinals, who already signed Josh Sweat. I understand that. They got Josh Sweat. They were able to make a big acquisition in the offseason, but I think James Pierce Jr. can play behind really anybody that they have, and they don't have to throw him in immediately. He can get his snaps. He was one of the best pass rushers in college football over the past 2 seasons. Maybe not this past one specifically, but he showed a lot of promise the year before, and I think that he still has that potential within him. And adding that with Josh Sweat, having a pressure rate of 22.4 over that 2 year span, I think the Cardinals take a chance on him. A lot of people think that James Pierce is either going to be going at this point or may even fall out the first round. Who knows? But, excuse me. But the Cincinnati Bengals, no other pick. No other pick. You see how it's fallen. You see how it has fallen. Kelvin Banks Jr. is here for the taking for the Cincinnati Bengals. And if he's fallen at this point, yes, they have a lot of defensive needs. He doesn't have to be tackled. He doesn't have to be tackled. He can move inside, and you just get this infusion of talent from Kelvin Banks Jr., and it's just such an easy pick for the Bengals. They don't have to overthink this at all. Man, I love Kelvin Banks Jr. helping Joe Burrow out. That would be tremendous because he has no time in that pocket whatsoever for this team. But moving on to the Seattle Seahawks, going with someone another edge, which would be what, the third edge in 5 picks? Can almost say four if you count Jahad Campbell playing on the edge at points. Donovan, I'm gonna try to say it. I'm gonna try to say it. I haven't practiced saying it. Obviously, I've been on work trips and stuff like that. But Donovan Azaruku, Donovan Azaruku, I hope that I said it correctly, but I like what he has been able to put up at Boston College. 14 sacks, 20 quarterback hits, and 26 hurries. He was one of the best under the radar pass rushers in all of college football this past season. I think that the Seahawks likely wanted Jahad Campbell, obviously. Jahad Campbell's already taken. You go with the next best thing. You maybe dodged a few bullets with Mike Green and James Pierce Jr. Donovan could possibly be better than both of them. If we really want to be honest about it. I like Donovan going to Seattle. I like what they can do with him and start this new regime that they have going, that they basically got rid of all the older players that Pete Carroll got, and now they're kind of figuring things out on their own. And I like the way that they're going. With they go with edge at this point. It makes a statement that shows like we're focusing on offensive line, defensive line. And that's what a lot of teams start to do whenever they really want to win. You don't go wide receiver or whenever you don't need it. Obviously, the Seahawks might need it. JSN's pretty good though. I like JSN a lot. But the Bucks are up on the clock, and they are thanking their lucky stars at this point because Malachi Starks is here, and I remember once upon a time Nick Emamori was getting taken over Malachi Starks, but I think reality started to set in a little bit. Putting Malachi Starks next to Antoine Winfield would be one of the most elite safety pairings in the league, if you're asking me. And they could both play free safety or box safety and play in the slot as well. You have two versatile weapons at safety. There's no more to say. Malachi Starks is just an absolute leader. He was amazing at Georgia. As much as I didn't like Georgia, I loved Malachi Starks. And I think that's a great look going forward for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. As the Denver Broncos were in talks of Colson Loveland for a very long time. But as of right now, we're not going to go with that because Evan Ingram got signed by the Denver Broncos. And I think that's the joker that Sean Payton was trying to get at. I think we see our second running back getting taken in the first round and probably the last one of the first round. Omarion Hampton, I'm glad he started getting the attention that he deserves because this scheme that Sean Payton had of trying to pick up steam in the run game with what he had, it's not going. You need to invest in a running back in the first round. You get him in day one, and he had 4.29 yards after contact per attempt, and that was the 97th percentile in college football over the past 2 seasons. Not just 1 season, it was over 2 seasons that he was able to keep that production going. I think Sean Payton is salivating at that, to be honest with you. I love him going to the Broncos if they're actually going to use him properly and not do the whole by committee situation. I I do like Est Estime. Is that how you say his name? I don't know. Audric Estime. I like him. I do. He's nowhere near Marion Hampton. I'm sorry. Carolina Panthers, though, this is the trade that we had earlier. And I mean, the pick that they wanted the entire time is still on the board. Jalen Walker, here for the taking. There's no questions about it because everybody's been saying it, everybody's been hearing it, that the Panthers are very adamant about getting Jalen Walker at their pick unless they think that they can trade down and still get him, which in this scenario, they get him. I don't see Jalen Walker going to any of these other teams that they traded out of. Now, when you get down here, that's no man's land. You don't know what's going to happen down there. They get him at the 21st spot, less of an investment in terms of contract. You get the talent that you needed. You get more picks because of taking that risk. And I think he's able to make a significant impact almost immediately. It's they get their guy at the specific need that they have right now. And I just think this is a dream scenario for the Carolina Panthers. You get a bunch of picks probably for that eighth pick, and you're still able to get your guy. I like him a lot. He stood out a lot in some plays that they needed him to when Michael Williams wasn't doing so. So I love Jalen Walker going to the Panthers. I think he's going to be able to prosper there. As the Chargers are on the board, and honestly, I can see an investment in the defensive line, but not edge. I think he goes with someone from Michigan. I don't know why I clicked both. From Michigan, and someone who can really have an impact immediately with comfortability because he's not just going to be going to a new coach. He is familiar with the scheme and things of that nature. You put him in his own spotlight and not have to be in the shadow of Mason Graham. I think the Chargers more than likely wanted to get someone like Matthew Golden. They probably thought that he could possibly fall to this point. But if he's not on the board, there's nobody really on the board that suits the description of a Matthew Golden type of player. You have to go with a player that you are confident with, and that's Kenneth Grant. As much as I would love for him to go to Buffalo, I think he could be a very good player for that defensive line. As the Green Bay Packers, they grab another young, athletic edge, and he's going to be able to develop in a similar path to Rashad Gary. They won't have to thrust him immediately into just being in a starting role. He can get his snaps. He can rotate with Lucas Van Ness and Kingsley, and he's able to perform when he needs to. Obviously, his stats didn't jump off the page whenever you look at them, but I like Shamar Stewart going to this type of scenario that he doesn't have to be relied on so heavily so soon. And yeah, there's not much else to say about Shamar Stewart. I mean, we know him and Mike Green were just the standouts of the Senior Bowl, and hopefully he's able to stand out in the league as well. As the Minnesota Vikings at the 24th spot have a situation that they have a trade offer on the board. A team that got jumped in trade is now looking to get back into it, and that is the New Orleans Saints. The New Orleans Saints here would be trading the 40th pick and a 71st pick for the 24 spot, and this is for a specific reason. It's for a specific reason. They're trying to help Spencer Rattler and Derek Carr as much as possible before they just blow it up and they get their guy next season at QB. And I think they're gonna go after a wide receiver that's been thrown under the radar as well, although he was a top 5 pick at one point. Luther Burden, I think, can be at the level of prime Stephon Diggs, if you're asking me. I think his separation rate being in the 88th percentile, although not getting that many targets, he had 84% of his targets were considered open. So he was able to get separation, and he improved his missed tackles force from 20 to 30 on 25 fewer receptions. You want that type of receiver for a either young quarterback or a quarterback that needs to prove himself because he's gonna want to go to him. He's gonna want to go with the new blood in the room, and I think that's a great jump for the Saints. And I mean, the Vikings didn't really need anything crazy at this moment. If we're being honest, like they could get what they want in the second round at this 40th spot. But we'll move on to the Houston Texans. I like the Luther Burden pick for the Saints, but the Houston Texans have been very clear in terms of what they're going to need to move on to. And they moved on from a lot of big offensive linemen. Laramie Tunsil needs a replacement, and Josh Simmons can be that guy for the Houston Texans. I mean, Josh Simmons, if he played the entire season, I think would be probably getting picked over Kelvin Banks Jr., maybe even Will Campbell. Armand Membu, it would probably be like a race between those two, but he is a player that can come in and immediately be a solution. And I think that once he gets that chance to show that he is a top offensive tackle in this class, it's the end of the story for the Texans and that left tackle position. But the LA Rams have had a lot of rumors about Jackson Dart possibly being taken here, whether it's them or somebody trading into the spot to get him. I don't have that happening. I don't. I have them investing in a position that has been a little weak at points at uh, LA. And getting this type of player would be a clear calling card to Sean McVay's want for dynamic tight ends. And adding Colson Loveland to this offense with Matthew Stafford on his latter years and Puka Nakua also young, now Devontae Adams, you have Colson Loveland now. There's so many weapons that is at display, really. I think Colson Loveland could be used very well by Sean McVay in this offense. As the Baltimore Ravens are here at the 27th spot, and I think they go with offensive line like the Texans did as well. But a man by the name of Gray Zabel, who a lot of people have basically wrote him to be a guard immediately, and I think that's what the Ravens are going to do for the time being. I think at the end of the day, Gray Zabel is going to be an insurance policy for Ronnie Stanley if he gets injured again, even after them signing him again, because we have to remember they signed him to an extension, and the only season that he played, I think it was like 10 or more games, or the entire season was the last year of the contract. He was injured basically in every single other one. I think if they put Gray Zabel at left guard, he's going to be able to be effective. But if Ronnie Stanley goes down, I don't hesitate on putting him at left tackle, without a doubt in my mind. I think that's a great pick for the Baltimore Ravens. As the Detroit Lions at the 28th spot are going to go with more of a safe pick, nothing insane. I think they go with Trey Amos. And I know that maybe some Lions fans aren't going to love that, but he gives you a certain floor and he gives you room to pursue edge in the remainder of the draft, which is where it kind of excels at in terms of the depth. You're able to find your diamonds in the rough, and I think the Lions would be able to do so if James Pierce Jr. was still on the board, 100% he's getting taken by the Lions. But Trey Amos is a safe cornerback pick. They lost Carlton Davis. I think they could use a little bit more depth in terms of talent at the cornerback position, but I like their defense. I just have never seen the Lions be a team that hesitates on getting depth if they like the pick specifically, and they may like Trey Amos at the end of the day. And the Washington Commanders are in a spot where I would love to be in because Siobhan Rebel here for the taking. As much as he's been plummeting in draft stock and things of that nature, I think he still has a great chance to be a great corner in the league, especially on the defense like the Washington Commanders. I think that yes, he tore his ACL, and a lot of teams are not going to love that he just doesn't have a lot of tape recently. But his last full season at East Carolina, he forced an incompletion on 24% of his coverage snaps. At like you as much as the Commanders like to have a ball hawk probably, that's effective. That's great because ball deflection incompletions it was 14th in the nation if you needed a ranking. But that is something that the Commanders could probably look at and be like, okay, we can deal with that. We can definitely deal with that because at the end of the day, their coverage was one of, I think it was the third lowest in the NFL, and they made it to the NFC Championship. They need to improve on the corners, and I think Siobhan Rebel's a good step towards that. As the Buffalo Bills are in an interesting situation, and to be honest with you, I was very split between Walter Nolan and Emeka Egbuka. Because at the end of the day, Khalil Shakir's great, not a wide receiver one. Keon Coleman's great. He's an X receiver. I wouldn't say he's a wide receiver one. Dalton Kincaid, we saw, didn't really step up to the plate last season. Emeka Egbuka could possibly be a wide receiver one if they believe in him enough. He's smart, he's able to handle it, but he's also a team player, so that is exactly the regime that the Buffalo Bills need because he has spent all this time in Ohio State playing alongside people like Chris Olave, Marvin Harrison. Now he was injured at most points, but he was still a team player. He was still at the games, he was still being a good leader, and I think that could help this team a lot. I like I said, Walter Nolan would have been great. I don't like a lot of the edge at all. Corner, it's not nothing stands out to me. Like I think you just go with the best player in your eyes in terms of these two. They may take a chance on Emeka Egbuka at the 30th spot. The Kansas City Chiefs at the 31st spot, though, see that Walter Nolan just fell into their hands. We don't have to spend too much time on that. Walter Nolan going alongside Chris Jones is exactly what the Kansas City Chiefs want. They have their offensive line, I guess they invested into it. I wouldn't say that it's completely done. I would say if they wanted to, they could go Josh Connerly there. But Walter Nolan was just there for the taking. You're able to put him alongside Chris Jones. It takes a lot of pressure off of Chris Jones. And Walter Nolan's able to develop. He had 26 run stops with this, which was the second most among interior defenders. And I think it's worth taking a chance. It's worth taking a chance on him that maybe the Bills aren't willing to do because they need to get over the hump. And they're not just willing to be like, yeah, we'll take a chance on him. We have the team that we need, but Walter Nolan, great pick. The Bills need to get more talent so they can get to the Kansas City Chiefs and beat them next time around. But the Philadelphia Eagles, I mean, my Philadelphia Eagles fan that's probably going to be watching this video, I'm sorry, I know that you didn't like Michael before. I just can't see them going any other route at this point, to be honest with you. I they've invested into their offensive line, corner, not really need Nick Scorton, ugh, not crazy about it. Oh, did not mean to do that. Yeah, Michael Williams. People were saying that he could go a lot higher than people are talking about right now. And that's the rumors within the rooms of these draft rooms. I could see that. I could see him going higher than that, but I don't know if he falls out the first round. That's James Pierce Jr. has more of a chance to fall out the first round. If anything, Michael Williams is definitely getting taken last pick or before. I can't see it any other way. But the Cleveland Browns have the first pick of the second round. And now we're officially in round two. I mean, get yourself a drink, get yourself some more snacks because we have one round down and we have two more to go because right now the Cleveland Browns are going to start off hot. They're moving on from Jedrick Wills. They're going to be getting Josh Connerly Jr. You immediately put him at left tackle because we saw at the Senior Bowl not really good at switching positions. It's left tackle or bust with it's left tackle or bust for Josh Connerly Jr. and he surrendered just 2 sacks over the past 2 seasons. Please, Cleveland, like make the right pick at this point because there's really no other pick that you can go with. And the New York Giants took Abdul Carter in the first round. You would think they go offense, right? You're right. Because we're going to go with QB and take a chance on a quarterback that has the ceiling of possibly even Lamar Jackson. Call me crazy. He's faster than Lamar Jackson. If you watch Lamar Jackson and Jalen Milroe play, Jalen Milroe gets out in space and he just burns everybody. Lamar Jackson's shifty and he has good agility and good acceleration, and that's what makes him look as quick as he is. But people catch up to him. When Jalen Milroe runs the ball, nobody catches up to him. And that's why people want him to go to running back. But I think the New York Giants take a chance on him because they saw a lot of the glimmers of hope in those big games that he would show up. He just needs to bring it out every game. He needs to think every game is a big game. As the Tennessee Titans are going to be looking to help their future quarterback and get a sure-handed receiver that dropped only 2 passes in 2024 and constantly won in contested situations. And honestly, one of my favorite wide receivers in the draft, if I'm not talking about the Tatario McMillan, Jaden Higgins out of Iowa State. I think that's a great consolation prize. Con, yeah, consolation prize for not having to trade into the first round again to get Tatario. Because Tatario went fourth. That's a bit of an investment to be able to get that. Jaden Higgins is going to be able to develop alongside Cam Ward. And I think that him also being able to thrive in man coverage is even more of a cherry on top for the Tennessee Titans, who really only have Calvin Ridley and who else now? Westbrook Akine just left. Traylon Burks. Like we won't even get into Traylon Burks and the disappointment that I have with him. The Jacksonville Jaguars are in a position that they still need to go they still need to go defense in general. But I think they're gonna go safety at this point. And it's gonna be a safety that got a lot of praise and showed it too. I think that Xavier Watts was playing one of the most key roles in that Notre Dame playoff run, and he has the ball skills that the Jacksonville Jaguars need. Now, he may get a little trigger happy at points with it, but I think they could deal with it. They could deal with the risk of that. And okay, I was afraid that it was going to crash on me right now, and I don't need that. I'm on a pace. And the Raiders are now here on the board after taking Ashton Gency in the first round. And I think they go defense. And now I think they take a chance. They got their for sure prospect in Ashton Gency. There's nothing saying that Ashton Gency is not going to be a great player, a great first round pick moving forward in these coming seasons. But now they take a chance on somebody that had a hip injury for the majority of last year. Probably could have had the same amount of impact that Xavier Watts did. And that's Benjamin Morrison. Benjamin Morrison is a guy that we saw perform at a very high level before he got injured. And they need to rebuild this 31st ranked cornerback group in the league by getting them in the draft and investing high round picks in it, being Benjamin Morrison. As the New England Patriots are here on the board and now can finally take a offensive lineman. And to be honest with you, I haven't quite understood the lack of interest in Wyatt Millum. Wyatt Millum out of West Virginia. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, or just let me know down in the comments below. I don't quite understand why he's all the way down here. I would have him above Ursary, to be honest with you. I just don't get why he got so much slack. I guess because of his arm length, but we've seen great tackles have short arm length. I just don't. If we're seeing it on film that he didn't allow a single sack and he was able to perform at a high rate, why not get him? I just don't see why not. Because it's a great investment because of Drake May. You get your talent position in the first round. You get Wyatt Millum here. I wouldn't necessarily take any offensive lineman at this specific point right now. I like Donovan Jackson. That's about it in this specific point. So just making sure that's known. As the Chicago Bears are on the clock at the 39th spot, and they have another pick soon after, so they can go pick what they think would possibly be at risk for the next selection in the Minnesota Vikings and get the guy that they want. And the Minnesota Vikings are also in need of defensive interior. Chicago Bears are also in need of defensive interior. You get a guy who basically it's a dream scenario that he's even fallen to this point. Derek Harmon out of Oregon had an 18.5% pass rush win rate in 2024. It was the third highest mark amongst all qualifying defensive linemen. Getting him in the second round, you you have to get him. You have to get him, especially with the Minnesota Vikings coming up right after that. And the Vikings get somebody that I was a fan of for a good amount of time, Tyleik Williams out of Ohio State. Great run defender, and that's exactly what they need because yes, they got Javon Hargrave and Jonathan Allen, but they excel in pass rushing more than being run defenders. Tyleik Williams is a straight up run defender. Once you think or once you scheme that they're gonna go run, you put Tyleik Williams in for one of those guys at least because he's gonna be able to make a stop if he needs to. I like Tyleik Williams going to this Minnesota Vikings team. Already a good investment for that 40th spot. I think it was either going to be defensive line. That probably could have even been Walter Nolan in the first round or defensive back. But I like Tyleik Williams for the 40th spot. Then we have the Chicago Bears coming right back around the corner and getting a halfback that I liked a lot when I was watching the NFL Combine. And that is Caleb Johnson out of Iowa. I think Caleb Johnson going to this team could possibly be a running back committee, but they need more of a consistent ground game in 2025. And DeAndre Swift is not consistent whatsoever. Caleb Johnson had 43 explosive runs last season and would just be able to bring that true home run potential that DeAndre Swift hasn't really been able to do for some time now, ever since the Lions stopped trusting him with the ball. As the New York Jets at the 42nd spot are here and need more than likely defense now that they went offense in the first round, and defensive interior is one that I could definitely see happening. Now, the question is it going to be Norman Lott or Darius Alexander? I'm going with my gut and what I've been able to see. And I know it's a lot of recency stuff, but I was also able to go back and watch Darius Alexander's film. I like him a little bit more than Norman Lott at this point. At this point, for sure, I like him more because the way that he was able to show out in the Senior Bowl made me go and watch him actually play in terms of obviously film. I'm not going in person to Toledo. But I like Darius Alexander fitting into that defensive line, playing alongside Quinnen Williams, playing alongside a lot of talent in that Jets defensive front. I think that would be great for him and that young group. As the San Francisco 49ers are at the 43rd spot here, and this man doesn't really have a high ceiling in my eyes. He has a set floor, and I think he's probably going to stay there, but the 49ers could take a chance. They could definitely take a chance, and he has the versatility to align anywhere from a 4-eye to a 7 technique, and that's going to be Nick Scorton. That versatility, it's almost like a jack of trades and a master of none. That's basically Nick Scorton, but they'll take a chance on him. His pass rush was great, but that's really about it. As the Dallas Cowboys are here once again at the 44 spot, also going to be going with Edge, but it's nobody that you can see right now. They're going to be going Braden Swinson, who has been catching some steam lately, but I like Braden Swinson because he has a 22.1% pass rush win rate in 2024. Again, 97th percentile. We talked about that type of percentile with first round picks. You, it's so clear at this point that players like that just need to be taken almost immediately if he's still available at this point. And he could be the perfect Robin to Parsons Batman on the edge. So, moving on to the Indianapolis Colts, they're going to be going defense once again. And a defensive player that got a lot of fire recently, and I don't know why he's not ranked higher. I get it. Kevin Winston Jr. did perform well prior to his injury. Makuba, I just like Nick and Mawari a little bit more just because of the way that he is going to be able to be a unit as a safety. And he got 4 interceptions last season, and he would just add more explosiveness. That's what the Colts need to focus on the most. Just explosiveness and versatility. And that's exactly what Jahad Campbell and Nick and Manwari are. Moving on to the Atlanta Falcons, though, we do have them going with defense once again, but not defensive line, not in the box. We're going to go with corner. And I feel like bringing in a player like Maxwell Hairston, who is basically put in the same range as Arnold from last year in terms of statistically and how he shapes up. I think Maxwell Hairston playing alongside AJ Terrell should only help the Atlanta Falcons moving forward, and this defense is going to be getting an absolute overhaul in terms of talent as the Cardinals are here once again and are going to be going defensive line once again, but we're going with the interior, and that is going to be TJ Sanders. TJ Sanders is someone who was having a career season in terms of his pass rush and being able to show out in that aspect. He's intriguing with his upside there, and he pairs quickness with length with a solid arsenal of moves. And I feel like bringing that to a defensive line that's been getting a rejuvenation over the season, I think would be great for both sides. As the Miami Dolphins are here once again at the 48th spot, and they're going to go offensive line now, but with the guy that I was just talking about, Donovan Jackson out of Ohio State. He would slot in as a day one starter at left guard. That's my thoughts about Donovan Jackson and where he would go for this team because I think although he did finish as a left tackle for Ohio State, the Dolphins just wouldn't really need him to be there. They need him to be more of a left guard, and he will be able to step in at tackle for the now second year starter for Patrick Paul if he kind of burns out, I guess you can say. Um, And I think Jackson, with the fact that he has allowed one or fewer pressures in a game 29 times over the past 3 seasons, is something that Tua is going to be wanting to get on his team. And although it is Ohio State, he can't really be mad about it. But the Cincinnati Bengals are going to be going with defensive line once again, but it's now going to be Jackson, who has a strong technique and a relentless motor that seems to be lacking in this Bengals defense, and his biggest impact will come immediately against the run. And that's what we were able to see all over the Arkansas film as Landon Jackson is going to be joining the Cincinnati Bengals after they went offensive line in the first round and now have Landon Jackson going to their defensive line in the second, as the Seattle Seahawks are now on the board at the 50th spot and are going to be probably looking at offensive line, but not tackle, probably not guard. We're going to be looking at Georgia's center and Jared Wilson. Jared Wilson out of Georgia is someone that, I mean, obviously this draft isn't super deep at center, and you can't really go anywhere else but Jared Wilson at this point if you were really going to be getting him. But they need pass blocking, and his pass blocking was tremendous for Georgia, and he didn't surrender a single sack all season. And I think that's what they need to invest in that offensive line at Seattle. And although it could be a reach, I just don't see them. I don't think they do have the 82nd pick. He could probably get picked before then. I think they take their chance and just take their guy at this point. As the Denver Broncos are going to be looking at offense once again and go with somebody that will go behind Cortland Sutton, as Jalen Royals out of Utah State is someone that had a season that he was a very savvy route runner. And I think that is more of what they need instead of that like X receiver type of build with Cortland Sutton that you can just throw it up to him. He had great body control, and he should be able to bring a new dynamic to this Denver Broncos offense in the second round, as the Seattle Seahawks are here once again at the 52nd spot and take another offensive lineman. And obviously, I'm sure people are already typing once I put Jared Wilson at the 50th spot. Oh, but Tyler Booker's right there. Tyler Booker's right there. Why don't you take him for the Seahawks? Well, mission accomplished. Your dream is coming true because Tyler Booker is coming to the Seahawks, as he has been highly regarded in this process, but he had also one of the best pass blocking in college football, and they're prioritizing that offensive line for the future, and that's what they need to do. That's something that's kind of been in rotation for them lately, as the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to be looking at linebacker, and specifically Carson out of UCLA. Linebacker is going to be a key focus for the Tampa Bay Bucks because at this point you have a bunch of aging linebackers and you need to start investing into it, and his burst and playmaking ability and coverage could be exactly what the Bucks are looking for to prepare for the end of Levante David's era of being the man for them at that point. But I like that pick for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, as the Green Bay Packers are going to be going with the wide receiver now. And as far as I can remember, they went with defense at the 54th at the first round pick, and now can go with a player that a lot of people said could possibly go high second round, maybe even first round if people really like him that much, but I just don't see that happening. There's a lot of rumors happening right now, obviously, that you have seen as well. But Trey Harris out of Ole Miss definitely performed well with Jackson Dart, made him probably look a little bit better than he is. But I like Trey Harris going to the Packers, who has the possibility of being a wide receiver one if necessary, but wide receiver two seems to be the way for these Packers in terms of the type of wide receivers that they're going to be getting. But he ranks second in deep, or the Green Bay Packers rank second in deep attempt rates, and that's really where he excelled at, and that's where they need somebody to be able to excel at. Now that Christian Watson is, I don't even know if he's going to be coming back to the Packers, but that's the conversation for another day. As the Los Angeles Chargers are going to be looking at tight end since they didn't go Colson Loveland in the first round. They went with defensive line, got Kenneth Grant, but now they can go with tight end and take somebody that I think they would be just as intrigued by. And Elijah Arroyo, you didn't really see him have the type of route tree and what he's able to do as a route runner, as you've seen lately in his workouts or in just different scenarios that he in this offseason. But he has a rare field stretching ability for the position that Justin Herbert and Harbaugh can use out of Miami. And it seems like Miami has a lot of talent that teams are going to be looking at in awe because it's just intriguing what they're able to do. I think with Tyler Conklin even being a Charger, it's still a great addition no matter what, just because of the age, the potential, and obviously Tyler Conklin alone can do so much. As the Buffalo Bills at the 56 spot with the pick originally being from the Minnesota Vikings, now they go with edge at this point, not Norman Lott. I still don't feel like that's a fit for them. I think they go edge and they go JT Tuimoloau out of Ohio State, who I liked for some time. Obviously, he didn't really perform to the level that I thought he would, but he gets to learn from two explosive edge rushers in Greg Rousseau and Joey Bosa. He it, he had 15 sacks, and uh, the Ohio State defensive line was just something that was confusing because you can go JT or you can go Jack Sawyer, and I don't think that you can really go wrong with either at this point. But it gives them an upgraded rotation of pass rushers off of the edge and a player who could develop behind uh, some forces off the edge that he can also turn into. As the Carolina Panthers at the 57th spot are going to be looking at defense once again. And at this point, as you saw him just now, Princely out of Ole Miss, again, a last name that I'm just not even going to attempt. He is a difference maker off the edge, and he was in college, and hopefully he can translate to the NFL. But we've seen him excel in many different scenarios, and especially in pass rushing, as this type of pick isn't that bad of an investment for it. And I think it would be good for the Carolina Panthers. They got Jalen Walker in the first round. You're getting Princely off the edge. You're starting to build that defensive front seven that you're going to get more and more comfortable with that they really haven't been able to be for some time now. As the Houston Texans are looking at a position that probably a lot of people wouldn't expect. But Joe Mixon's not getting any younger. And I think they could go with a running back. Now, the only other thing that I could see is obviously wide receiver. Mm, I'm not super crazy about any of these players matching their scheme in any way. So that's why I'm just gonna have to go with running back. And Travion Henderson is the one that I feel like is gonna stand out a little bit more from this Ohio State pairing. But now he goes to CJ Stroud and goes back to supporting him as he brings this big playability out of the backfield, and he ranks second amongst running backs or draft eligible running backs in big time receptions. That's what they need because I saw too many times that Joe Mixon kind of fumbled in points that they needed him most. As the Baltimore Ravens at the 59th spot are gonna be looking at the opposite side of the ball now that they got Gray Zabel on the offensive line. And now can go with someone who's gonna be able to complement Odafe Oweh and go with edge. And that's gonna be Jared Ivey out of Ole Miss. I think that Jared Ivey's going to be able to come in, show that his 8 sacks and 31 hurries over only 12 games in 2024, and being able to be that pass rusher that keeps adding to this defense that is one of the best pass rushing groups in the league and puts a lot of pressure on the quarterback, except for Josh Allen. But Jared Ivey going there should be a match made in heaven for both, as the Lions are here once again, and they've been doing a lot of work on a specific player. And it's not even first round players that I've been hearing a lot about, but specifically Josiah Stewart out of Michigan is someone that I didn't really expect much in terms of from the Lions, but it's really not a bad idea at all. He is a polished pass rusher with a deep arsenal of moves, and he has the versatility to work off of the ball. That's something that they could definitely use with a bunch of different schemes that they could figure out as Aiden Hutchinson's injury history starts to become a little grim. They could start to become more of a versatile defense as they have been in the passing game. And I think the run game has been very good as well. But now you're looking at a different regime now that both the offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator got head coaching jobs. As the Commanders are going to be looking towards supporting Jaden Daniels and supporting him in a way of weapons. Jake Beck is another potential weapon for Jaden Daniels that we saw again at the Senior Bowl stand out tremendously. I mean, you're only going to see so much coming out of TCU, but he brings impressive athleticism and quickness for a bigger receiver, and he dropped only one pass last season, the entire season, with only 4 total drops in his college career. I think he has a lot of grit and tenacity that he can bring to this Commanders offense and just keep adding for Jaden Daniels to be able to utilize to the best of his abilities. As the Buffalo Bills once again are here, but with their normal pick, and looking at a linebacker because Matt Milano could possibly be on his way out, but this isn't in replacement of him, more to complement him. And that's going to be Demetrius Knight Jr. I think that Demetrius Knight Jr.'s run defense was tremendous this past season, and that's something that they need to focus on as a overall defense. But he projects as a long-term Mike linebacker and a potential leader in the middle of the Buffalo defense that could possibly lose Matt Milano at some point if they end up moving on from him. But I like Demetrius Knight Jr. going to this team as the Kansas City Chiefs look at the offensive line finally after passing up on it in the first round. As offensive tackle, Ronte Ursary was a first round pick at one point, and I think he still could have that potential going to the Kansas City Chiefs. He logged over 2,000 snaps at Minnesota over the past 3 seasons and was basically on the same level pass rushing wise and run blocking wise. It's a level of consistency that you like to see out of a player, and especially coming to a highly touted organization right now because of Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. You just keep adding depth at those positions, and you shouldn't be able to go wrong at any point. The 64th pick in the last round of round two is going to be a pick that I've been very confident about in terms of his ability as a corner. Darian Porter is one of my favorite corner prospects in this class, and maybe that's a little biased just because I like the way or just his size and his length, and I, I guess that's just what I prefer in terms of corners and specifically the Eagles in this situation because they don't really have that type of guy that is big and able to have this upside because if they develop him well enough, he can be a great corner in this league. And he allowed just 5 receptions over 203 coverage snaps this past season. I think coming off of this Super Bowl win, most of the veteran depth is gone at corner. You have to be able to invest in it again. Azariah Thomas is what's throwing me off in terms of like who I want to go with more. I'm gonna have to go Darian Porter though. Brings a little bit more of a difference. I mean, I know his run defense is absolutely shite, but his coverage and zone coverage is definitely something. Okay, so now we are in the third round. I think what I'm going to do, because I don't want this to be super long for you guys, and I know maybe you guys know some of these people, but we're going to get to a point that you're not going to really know most of them. So we're going to try to speed through this and we're going to try to get through it pretty quick and simple as we're going to start off with the Giants at edge going with Jake Sawyer and or Jack Sawyer. I've been very big on Jack Sawyer for a while. I even had him going in the first round at some points, late in the first round, but we've seen what he's able to do, big time moments, big time player. Going to the Giants continues to add to this depth of the team that I still believe Kayvon Thibodeau is going to be on his way out. So this is why I'm getting Jack Sawyer. You add another one. He doesn't have to be playing significant role immediately. He can be a sub, but it's a good investment because he's already dropped to the third round. Moving on to the Kansas City Chiefs, we have a corner, and that's Azariah Thomas, who I honestly am salty that the Kansas City Chiefs are able to get him at this point. But I love Azariah Thomas coming out of Florida State. I think he is going to be a diamond in the rough for whoever gets him and should be able to come and show up to the best of his ability for this Kansas City Chiefs defense, who have Trent McDuffie and Jalen Watson and Joshua Williams, but all of them are in the final year of their current contract. And you need to start investing into it if you expect some of them to leave, which I think Trent McDuffie might be the only one that stays, as the Cleveland Browns are going to be making a trade, and it's going to be to the New York Jets at this spot because the New York Jets are looking for something that they haven't been able to get. They didn't get in the first round. So they have to try to pack up some pieces and get what they need. 162.73 to 67, just to jump some teams that could possibly get the guy that they want over them. And we're going to go with an offensive tackle out of Boston College, Ozzy Trapilo. He's not going to be an all-pro talent. Let's just keep it straight. But he is going to be a consistent player for this offensive line. He gets that starting right tackle job immediately, and he's going to be consistent. He may not be Joe, but he's going to be consistent for this team. As the Raiders at the 68 spot also get possibly a diamond in the rough with Alec Ayo Manor. Sorry, I almost butchered that. Out of Stanford. I like him. It just didn't really fit any sort of situation that I was looking at whenever I was going over the draft. I think if the Raiders are able to get him, they have a great draft overall. I don't know. Okay. So yeah, they got Ashton Denti, Benjamin Morrison. Then you get a wide receiver in the third round, a great wide receiver at that can come in and show that he can be there with Jacoby Myers in terms of being able to have big production. And he averaged 2.12 yards per route run over the past 2 seasons. And I think that is going to be a great look for this Raiders team moving forward. I think, hold on. Oh, shite. Okay. Yeah, we really have to get this going. So, my computer is about to die, but we're going to get through this, and we're going to get through this quick as the New England Patriots at the 69th spot are also going to be going tackle a man out of William and Mary, and that is going to be Charles Grant out of William and Mary. I think that they still need to continue to invest into the offensive line and improve it as much as possible. Um, his projection coming from a lower level FCS, if he develops could be great. If he doesn't, you kind of take what you get at that point. The Jacksonville Jaguars, though, looking at tight end because they moved on from the Evan Ingram. Look at Mason Taylor, who has been getting some good traction. He has the lineage of his family that has been in the NFL, has that time that he has been able to see. And his size and blocking ability makes Taylor stand out as a prospect that Jacksonville needs, both as a receiver and as a blocker. As the Minnesota Vikings are here at the 71st spot and are going to be trading his pick away as well. This is where the trades, I guess, start to pick up, as they're going to be trading the 71st pick to the Miami Dolphins. And I think this is more of a safety pick for the Dolphins, but they're going to be receiving the 71st pick and they're going to be sending the 98th pick, 116, and possibly I'm trying to think if I do 135 or 150. I might have to do 150 and get a player that they're confident in, that a lot of people are confident in. And that is going to be a QB out of Ole Miss in Jackson Dart, falling to the third round. I mean, ranked 131st, but his ADP is 35 because nobody really knows what to expect from him. But I think they take a chance on him being the backup for Tua. If Tua doesn't show up for a certain amount of games in terms of injury or just play, I think they take a chance on Jackson Dart. Jackson Dart steps in, could possibly be that guy for them. As the Chicago Bears at the 72nd spot are going to go defensive line once again with a man out of Oregon that goes by the name of Jordan Birch, who has also been talked about a significant amount more. And adding him to this defensive line that is going to be nice and young because they've been investing completely into it and it's been great for them. I think this is a complete overhaul with someone who's such a mover at 295 pounds and showcased plenty of upside. I think that's great for the Chicago Bears and their future, as the Cleveland Browns are here at this spot and are going to go with halfback. And it's going to be the other set from the Ohio State Buckeyes, Quinshot Judkins, who has big playability, but can also not show up at points, and that's why he is falling to the third round for me. I think that he has a lot of talent still stowed away that just needs to break out. He is another diamond in the rough for me that with them moving on from Nick Chubb, he could definitely show up alongside Jerome Ford. All right, laptop's not going to die. I had to put it to charge. I just didn't want to lose the recording, didn't want to lose you guys, and wanted to be able to get this done for you guys. So, moving on to the Carolina Panthers. Now they are going to be investing into wide receiver. A lot of people had them going with Tatario McMillan for a very long time in terms of that first round pick if he was able to fall to that point. Obviously, in this one he didn't, and I don't think they would go with him regardless. As Xavier Restrepo is here, and I feel like him falling to this point is a big steal because him having to do his workout with basically what a pulled hammy put him at a hindrance. I think he could have been a second round pick at one point, but falling to the third round works out as well. I think this is the point that I'm gonna start drafting these on my own, and I'll go over them as I finish it up. Alrighty, so before I make my last pick of the draft, I just want to briefly go over some of these picks that I didn't talk about, obviously, to as much length as the other ones. Tate Ratledge going to the Cardinals, a great guard pickup for that team. That Georgia offensive line definitely showed out for some time. Dylan Sampson going to the Patriots makes a significant amount of sense just because their running back situation is like so out of sorts right now. Alfred Collins, a great run stopper that the Cowboys could definitely use in that defensive line. This right here, I meant to not draft with the Seahawks. It was supposed to be the Detroit Lions because Andrew Makuba is a very talented safety that just got a bad dealt hand, I guess you can say. I think that he is going to come in and make a big difference in terms of the fact that the Lions had two big contracts coming up in the safety position. They just re-signed Kirby Joseph, but they have to do something about some at the other position. And he has the athleticism and instincts in coverage to make an immediate impact if they need him to. And I think that would be a great thing. So just think of this as the Lions, not the Seahawks, obviously. Um, RJ Harvey going to the Steelers, running back committee once again. Just the rest of these make sense in terms of their positions of need. Um, Damian Martinez going to the Browns after already getting Quinshad Judkins was definitely something that I was hesitant about, but I think it's more of a fail-safe just because Damian Martinez is, in my eyes, a bit more power heavy than Quinshad Judkins, so they could complement each other. Cam Scatterbo going to the Chiefs is very interesting. I think they could utilize him in the way that they thought that Carson Strong could be utilized on their team. Other than that, though, I'm pretty good with everything here. Hopefully, you were able to get a good look at everything. I went over slowly after the ones that I had already went over, but the last pick of the draft of this mock draft is going to be a wide receiver, and Savion Williams is going to be the last pick of this draft. Going to a wide receiver room that could lose Jameson Williams just because they won't be using him. Or not that they won't be using him, but just they more than likely are going to trade Savion Williams and move on from him. Oh, again, that's supposed to be the pick for the Seahawks. I really was trying to get this done because I need time to be able to get this out to you guys. Um, Fabian Williams is supposed to be going to the Seahawks. It still makes sense to me for the Detroit Lions to possibly go with that. Don't get me wrong. That's why I literally went on a ramble about it. The Seahawks, though, are in much more desperate of a need of getting wide receiver and to somehow complement JSN in some way. And him being 6'4", 222 pounds, and having a 4.48 at that height and weight, I think he can be great on the outside while JSN does his thing on the inside. But that was a long one. That was a long one, boys. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Let me know down in the comments below what you think about different picks. Hopefully you made it through all the way. If you did, I love you. I don't know. I really appreciate it. This year has been pretty hefty one in terms of the drafts, in terms of learning everything. I didn't do as much research in the past as I did with this one. Obviously, never really getting past a two-round mock draft and hardly even able to get through a two-round mock draft before. Now, basically knowing all these names and not even knowing how I know them. Um, it's been a lot of fun, and hopefully you guys have enjoyed it throughout this time, and hopefully you guys enjoy the actual NFL draft. Unfortunately, I will not be able to watch it. Hopefully, I catch the back end of it though, and I will be able to talk to you guys whenever we have the way too early mock drafts, or maybe draft grades going forward. I'm definitely gonna look into doing some draft grades. It might have to be in this type of setup. But hopefully you guys don't mind it. And if you did enjoy it, please go down there and like so more people can see it so we can get this out to a broader audience. We can get to 500 subscribers. We're almost there. And get even more than that so we can build this community even more, have some more fun, and have some more talks about this, and subscribe so you don't miss out on the rest of the draft season, I guess you can say. We still have the way too early mock draft for next season, and now we have the draft grades, possibly going a little more in depth on certain teams that probably made risky decisions. I'm gonna try to watch as much as I can, probably re-recording, but I will see you in the next video. Peace.